I'm going big or going home, and truly, really mean that. Like, if we fail, it's going to be the biggest fail in combat sports history. And if we succeed, it's going to be the biggest success in combat sports history. That truly is what it's going to be. So we're just going for broke and we're going for it. And I think that's the only model that we have.
He is the president, founder, and the man behind the scenes at BKFC, and he's about to go to his hometown for the first time ever in January for a massive Knucklemania card. It is always my great pleasure to speak to David Feldman. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing awesome, Damon, man. Doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic, man. And obviously, I know we spoke last year or earlier this year about you going to Philadelphia. Now it's official, January 25th. I just looked at ticket sales. It's remarkable. Like, it's almost sold out already, and we're still a month out from the event. That rarely happens. Can you kind of encapsulate for me how excited you are to finally get to do this show in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia is a weird town. Like, they love you and they hate you, and you don't know if they're going to have your back or not. And apparently they have our back, because we just opened up 4 new sections today. Now we are attempting to beat the UFC's record there. They a little over 17,000, and we're well on our way to do that. We've only done 22% of our marketing budget so far, and we're already about almost 80% sold out. So it's a fantastic feeling just to know that we have the support from the Philadelphians and everybody around the area. It's just really truly amazing to be able to bring our biggest show that we've ever done, really our biggest crowd that we've ever done, our highest gate that we've ever done, to our home city of Philadelphia. It's just truly just amazing for us.
I feel like every time we talk, I talk about like a dream come true for you, and this is another one. Eddie Alvarez headlining. I talked to Eddie about a week ago. Obviously, he's very excited. He hasn't fought at home in 14 years. Was it always kind of a no-brainer for Eddie to be the headliner? I mean, he's from Philly. I remember talking to Eddie back in his Bodog days when he would fight in Atlantic City, and people would travel from Philadelphia to see him fight. So was it always kind of like a no-brainer for Eddie to be the headliner on this card?
Yeah, there was another center called the Leocore Center at Temple University, and it's about 10,000 people. And I knew he sold that out, and I was like, man, we have to just bring him over here. And he's just honestly like, a lot of fighters are really great with us, but some of them want to do their own thing. And Eddie, every time he does an interview, he's wearing a BKFC hat. He's promoting the sport. He's promoting the brand. He's continuously doing that. We actually put the first ever bare knuckle ring in Pennsylvania in his gym. So it's pretty cool. We got a great relationship with Eddie. Eddie is definitely leading the way here, and people are excited about this fight. They're really, truly excited. It's like, I told them, I said, this is going to be the biggest combat sporting event in Philadelphia history. And I threw it out there, and guess what, Damon? It's going to be the biggest combat sporting event in Philadelphia history.
And I was speaking to Ben Rothwell.
Modern Philadelphia history. I just don't want someone telling me, oh, they did 80,000 people in 1912. Well, they may have. But in modern history, we're going to break the record.
I love it. I love it. And I was talking to Ben Rothwell, who, of course, is in the co-main event against Mick Terrell in a great heavyweight title fight. He was commending BKFC for having the best business plan when it came to tackling combat sports. He said, if you noticed during the press conference, it was Eddie Alvarez and a lot of local Philadelphia fighters. He said, they know the plan. You got to show up. You got to bring big fights, but you also got to bring local talent. He's like, this is something a lot of these MMA organizations just never get right. They go into a town, they don't have any local talent, and they're like, why aren't we selling tickets? And like, because you don't have anyone from here. You got to get people to come out. And so this card is like a great mix. Of course, you got Taylor Starling, Beck Rawlings, which is a great fight. Of course, I mentioned Ben Rothwell and Mick Terrell, but then you got a lot of local Philadelphia favorites. It's like the perfect mix, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. We got a lot of Philadelphia undercard guys that are really, really popular. I mean, I don't know what you know about fighter ticket sales, but if they sell 100, 150 tickets, that's good. Every fighter on this card took 250, 300 tickets. One fighter took 978 tickets. Like, they are selling tickets like crazy, man. Just super excited. I mean, there's so much excitement. It's like when there's a big event around a town, you hear about it, and we're hearing about this. You going to the fight? You going to the fight? And I'm like, wow, they're talking about our fight. Like, that's pretty damn cool.
And I know, listen, you've never been the guy that says, I'm going to poke the gorilla, because you said one of the things you've always been proud of is you've maintained a good relationship with Dana White and the UFC. But could you have imagined what I would have said to you 3 or 4 years ago? You may break the attendance record of the UFC in your first ever card in Philadelphia. Would you have believed me, honestly?
No, honestly, I thought I would have done 10,000. And I just put it out there, like when we talked about this, I said, let's just say it's the biggest combat sporting event in Philadelphia history, and it's going to turn into that. And a couple of my guys on my team were like, "Oh man, you're really biting off more than you can chew." And I said, "That's what we always do. Let's go, man. Let's just go." And we did it. And like I said, we're I don't know. We have like 20% of the tickets left to sell to do this in 4 weeks. I mean, it's game over for us. Really, it's truly going to be amazing. We're also going to be honoring some Philadelphia Flyers, some of the old Broad Street bullies, because when I announced this, it's the first bare knuckle fight in Philadelphia, and they were like, "What are you talking about? We used to throw the gloves down and fight bare knuckle all the time." So I thought it would be fitting to bring them out, give them some championship belts, honor them, honor some of the dignitaries in Philadelphia and from Pennsylvania. The commission called us today and said, "Hey, the whole entire like staff up here, the higher government, they all requested tickets to this event." It's just an amazing feeling that they turned me down so many years, and then we get a new guy in there that really understands it and sees it, and it's working out so well.
I love it. I love it. Now, before we turn the page into 2025, can you real quickly, Dave, just kind of encapsulate how big 2024 was for BKFC? Because I know we talked a couple times during the year, but now we are at the year end going into 2025. I mean, obviously, we know the partnership with Conor McGregor was huge. The fight in Marbella, Spain was insane. You did Sturgis. Obviously, Mike Perry continued to be a massive star for you. New people emerged. Can you kind of wrap up like how big 2024 was for BKFC?
Yeah, it was by far our biggest year ever. As you mentioned, the Conor McGregor partnership it was amazing for us because when he talks, people listen, and he talks, right? He doesn't stop talking, and it's a great thing, and he's a great partner. And then we did Sturgis, 16,000 and change. Now we're gonna break the attendance record here in Philadelphia in 2025, obviously. We did the deal with the zone. I mean, just more and more things that are making us mainstream this year were incredible. I don't know if you followed us, but we announced Dubai two or 3 weeks ago. We announced Italy last week. There's just so many more things coming up for 2025. It's going to be incredible. But to recap 2024, by far the biggest year in BKFC history. It grew us by leaps and bounds, and I think it put us in a really great position in combat sports now. And we're trucking along, man. We're happy where we're going. The fighters are happy. Everybody involved is happy. And, I think 2025 is going to be incredible.
It's wild to think just a few years ago. I mean, I know you said this openly to me in the past. Like you were basically operating on like an event to event to event basis. Like, do we have enough money to go from this event to the next event? Now, like you've got Dubai, a 2-day event coming up, and you've gone to Spain before any other major organization went there. You're going to Italy before any major organization. I think Bellator did a Italy card a couple of years ago, but like you're going to Italy. Like again, these are things that I'm sure 3 or 4 years ago you could have never imagined.
No, I mean, you know what it is, Damon? It's like I just got to run out and make it happen because I can't crawl along the way. I can't just walk softly. It's not going to happen for us. Like you have to make noise here in order for people to listen. And if you don't, and if you don't make noise the right way and you don't do it the right way, like, there's some other organizations out there that I just, great people, but they're just not doing it right. They're not making the noise. And I just said, look, man, I'm going big or going home and truly, really mean that. Like, if we fail, it's going to be the biggest fail in combat sports history. And if we succeed, it's going to be the biggest success in combat sports history. That truly is what it's going to be. So we're just going for broke and we're going for it. And I think that's the only model that we have.
I love it. I love it. Now, with that being said, Dave, there's a lot I want to get into because obviously Knucklemania is right around the corner. You're going back into California, which has now become a massive market for you guys in a very, very short amount of time, less than a year, basically. Now you've become California has become a big market for you guys. I'd be remiss without asking you about the continued relationship you've built with Conor McGregor. I know Conor has been going through some stuff lately, and obviously we all know what he's had happen with him, but it seems like that relationship with Conor has continued to grow and build and flourish. Would you go as far as saying like that may end up being one of the most important moments in BKFC history? Bridging that, becoming partners with him, and then just seeing how that's continued to grow over these past few months.
I think certainly it is. And look, we don't want to go into, what happened with him, but at the end of the day is we're with him. And he's our partner and we're going to grow this thing together. And, he talks, like I said, he talks, people listen. I don't condone any bad things that may have happened, but what I do support 100% is loyalty, and you're with somebody, and you're with somebody through good and bad. You're not just with them through the good. And we've been with Conor McGregor the whole time. He's been with us the whole time. And 2025 is going to be an epic year for everybody involved.
Now, you said Connor absolutely plays a part in what happens at BKFC. You've been very open about that. Can I ask you, was it last week or 2 weeks ago when you had the card down in Florida and the zone thing where he's like, if you don't put our people on the microphones, we're getting out of here. Like, I love Connor's passion for this, and he wants to get everyone that. I've always said, like, when you have that microphone time after a fight, that could be the most important 2 or 3 minutes of your career because you have a chance with a captive audience, get everybody to listen to what you're saying, what you want next, whatever the case may be. He was pretty passionate about saying, hey, you need to give our guys time on the microphones.
No, he's dead right on that. But that actually wasn't the zone thing. That was our production thing. It's just that at the Hard Rock, for some reason, we're always on a timeline, and we have to get out of there. Like it gets crazy if you go overtime. Like I'm talking like 100,000 an hour. So we had to get out on time, and he's dead right. So we are making some adjustments too, whether it's during the next fight's walkout or during the break from the next fight while we're interviewing these guys. But these guys do need to be seen and heard because that's what made them. That's what made him. If they didn't talk to Conor McGregor after the fights, you wouldn't know who he is. You wouldn't. So we have to take advantage of that, and we will. Obviously, DAZN's a great partner for us, and I wish he didn't he didn't go out there like that. But at the end of the day, is everything's ironed over. We understand everything. He understands everything, and he's dead right. I mean, we want to hear from the fighters. We want to hear they just had a devastating knockout. I want to hear that. Listen, I'm going to knock at it. Everybody else that I ever faced, they want to hear that. They want to hear why, and we're going to tell those stories, and we're going to let them talk.
Absolutely. And what's funny is, like I said, you can tell the passion's there because he's always tweeting about it, Instagramming about it. Like, you can tell he's actually a fan of this, which I love. And those post-fight interviews are important. But I will say, BKFC has the best pacing of any organization out there because I recap a lot of your events, and there are so many times I'm still recapping a fight. The next ones are walking out, and I'm like, slow down, guys. I'm still trying to finish writing about the last fights.
Yeah, man. It's excuse me. Like I said, it's we built this fast pace, right, for today's ADD society. Very, very fast pace, nonstop action. But at the end of the day is to really grow this into a really global empire, we have to tell the stories of the guys. We have to make you want to follow the guy from fight to fight. And you're going to want to do that, yes, because he can fight great. But number two is because he has a story that you want to follow. You want to see him win. Hey, this guy's got a bad upbringing. His children are messed up, and he's fighting, to save their life. Or is a complete jerk and nobody likes him, and we want to see him get knocked out. But let's tell those stories, and that's what 2025 is really, truly all about. We're going to build some really great shoulder programming, some unscripted series that are going to go along the way, docu-series, everything that's going to tell the stories of these fighters. We're actually also going to tell the story a little bit this year about BKFC itself and how we withstood some of the storms that we were dealt, and I think it's just going to be an amazing year for the growth of BKFC to really be able to understand these fighters and what they're going through and understand their journeys, and that's going to make you want to keep watching them. And 2025 is penciled out to be really one of the biggest years in combat sports.
Absolutely. So, Dave, every time we talk, I got to try to needle some news out of you. And I know you announced recently a $25 million BKFC tournament coming in 2025. Now, I had spoken to Sabah Humasi last week. He made his debut, had a big win out there. He was with Dustin Poirier. I love that. And he was like, I don't know what weight class it's going to be, and I don't know when it's happening. He's like, I want to be a part of that. Can you give us any details whatsoever, even if it's a nugget of a detail about this 20? Because when you said that $25 million tournament, everyone's head spun. Everyone turned around immediately and said, what did he say? $25 million?
Yeah, what happened? We had a meeting that afternoon actually, and I was like, guys, we got to do a big tournament, a global tournament, and we were talking about 10 million, and then I brought up, I said, look, 25 million because I know we can get people involved with this thing and broadcasters involved. And then I did an interview, and I was just like, he's like, you got anything cooking for next year? And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna throw together this $25 million tournament. And I'm like, oh shit, now I got to put together this tournament, right? But what it's going to be is it's going to be one big, larger, extended weight class. And now it could be a lighter weight, it could be a higher weight. We're going through that now, but it's going to be a long, like a bigger gap on a weight class. So you're going to see guys from 5 or 6 weight divisions in this tournament. You are going to see that. You're going to see guys from 5 different continents trying out for this thing. How many different countries? I don't know, 30, 40, 50 different countries. You're going to see guys. Everybody has to qualify for this tournament. So there's going to be a couple guys that we're probably going to say, hey, I want to lure you in here. You get a buy into the final 8, right? Because I want to get big names in there too. But I also want to find diamonds in the rough, because I think what this tournament's going to do for combat sports, I really think it's going to wake it up a little bit. I think it's going to change the game a little bit. I think it's going to help us really develop some new stars, because we're going to find people from all over the world that can really fight. And we didn't know that they could really fight. Now we're going to know. And then we can develop into BKFC stars at the same time, putting on the most epic, the most fighters ever aligned in a tournament, and the biggest prize pool ever in a fighting tournament in the history of combat sports. And we're going to do that in 20. So it's going to start in mid-25, just so you do know. I'll give you another little nugget. It's 9 to 10 months. So it's going to end at 25, and then it's going to end in 26. And then if it's successful the way I think it's going to be, we're going to go mid-26 into 27, the same thing. And hey, who knows if the broadcasters get involved the right way, the sponsors are happy. Who knows if it doesn't become, 2 or 3 years from now, $100 million tournament. We just don't know. I'm just saying that I'm looking to do the biggest and best things. I'm looking to test myself and the team. And the only way to do that is just by going out there and doing the biggest and best things that we possibly can do. And, like I said, if we fall, we're going to fall flat on our face with the biggest epic fail ever in combat sports, which it won't be. But if it does, it's going to be trying the biggest and best things ever. We're not going to fail by stumbling over doing a little arena show and it didn't work. We're going to fail by, hey, we tried to do $100 million tournament and we just couldn't make it work. But I really think that we have the recipe for what the fans want right now. Pure excitement, nonstop action the entire fight long. And we treat the fighters great. Like I think that Sabat probably told you he had a great time at BKFC and we welcomed it with open arms and we treated him great. And I think he's someone that we can build into a new star for BKFC. And that's the things we want to do with a lot of different fighters around the world.
So when you say weight class, so this is going to be almost like an open weight kind of thing. Like
let's
this
just say, for instance, if we did the higher weight class, it would be 175 to 275. Right? Wow. If we did lower weight class, maybe it would be, I don't know, 135 to 165, something like. I'm just shooting it out there. We don't have it defined yet, but it's going to be a wide disparity, and I think that people are going to want to see this thing, because who's not going to want to see, let's say, a Mike Perry fight a Ben Rothwell? Like, let's just say, like, that would be intriguing as hell. Like, yo, this guy busts everybody up in bare knuckle. Let's see what that looks like, right? So I think it's going to get people really, really intrigued. In the next 2 weeks, we actually have 3 planning sessions to really map this thing out. And I think 2 to 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be able to announce the full details of how the prize money dwindles down for everybody and what the main prize is and just how it's going to work for everybody. And I think when we do that, everybody's going to get very, very excited about this.
I love it. So mid-2025 is when we're looking for that to launch.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably April. We're looking at April.
Okay, nice. I love it, man. Yeah, as soon as you said that, like, everyone's like, what? Their ears perked up. $25 million tournament. So, and you said it's open to everybody. So we're going to see a lot of free agents coming up like, can I get a phone number from BKFC? Can I come over there? So I think you're going to be getting a lot of calls when this thing finally becomes official.
Yeah, man, I think so. But I mean, I'm really, really, truly, this is the year I'm most excited about, because I think this is the year, like, frankly, this is the year where we become truly mainstream. We definitely, we're in talks with a lot of different platforms, and the Zone is in talks with us about really stepping up right now and doing some big things with us. But we have a chance to become, mid-range profitable this year, which is huge for us. For the amount of shows we're doing and the amount of revenue that we are generating to become profitable at this stage, I think it's a really, really big step for us, and we're going to become profitable in 2025. And it just goes into, then 2026 becomes way more profitable. It's just the way that this thing rolled out. And man, it's just, I'm so happy that everybody has really fallen in love with BKFC and the pacing of it and the brutality of it, right? And really everything about it. And people love the fighters that are in there. They love everything about the sport. And I'm just happy that we're in the position we are to enter 2025 and really truly go into mainstream in 2025.
And just for anyone that's out there, not to like, I'm not knocking anyone else's business model, but like right now, if you look at combat sports, and I'm not going to include boxing because it's such a weird promotion thing with those guys, but in MMA, the only profitable organization is the UFC. Like nobody else makes profit. It's one thing to say you got all these fighters and you're doing this profit. That's a rare thing. So the fact that you're going to become profitable in 2025 is insane. That's huge for a organization been around for as short of a period of time as you've been around. So just to throw that out there for everybody.
I mean, Damon, if 2 or 3 things happens that I think can happen in 2025, we become extremely profitable. Like it's actually really, really cool because when we're doing the projections and we're like, wait, that's without that or without that. If that happens, man, it really goes through the moon. So we're in a great spot. We just have to keep putting on great fights, keep picking up these different names, making it interesting, right? I mean, we always throw an interesting matchup out there, an interesting scenario, just something different. And, that's what we do. And that's what we do to keep people talking and keep people engaged in this sport.
Yeah. So before I get you out here, Dave, I got to ask you about Mike Perry because I know when we spoke, I want to say it was like last October when you first mentioned the Philadelphia event. You said, Mike Perry, there's a chance he ends up on that card or comes back in early 2025. I know Mike has been very vocal. He wants to fight. He was out there, obviously, in Florida. He called out Robbie Lawler. Where are we at with Mike Perry, and how soon could we see him? And is there a possibility that Robbie Lawler fight maybe actually happens?
I mean, it's a possibility. The UFC has to go along with that. There's a possibility for that and a few other things. It looks like a March for Mike. He's definitely coming back. We talked about it a little bit at the fight. I know that Mike likes to talk and say, they're not giving me fights, they're not doing this, but we've been talking with his management team. He's coming back, and I wish he didn't step outside of this sport because I do believe he truly owns the sport. Like this was made for Mike Perry, but now he has to come back in here and rekindle this flame and show the BKFC fans and all the combat sports fans that he is a true bare knuckle fighter and this is where he belongs. And he's going to show that again in March.
Well, and I know like the Robbie Lawler factor. I mean, obviously you said the UFC has to sign off on that, but that would be a massive fight. But I know when Mike Perry's involved, there's a lot of massive fights, right? Like it's not just Robbie Lawler.
No, there's a lot of different options out there. I mean, look, there's in-house BKFC guys, Dave Mundell, right? Dave Mundell's been calling him out for a long time. Austin Trout wants to fight him. There's a lot of different guys that want to fight Mike Perry because he's the name. And one of those fights is going to happen in March, and we're going to narrow that down here in the next 2 weeks, and then we'll announce that. But Mike certainly is still with BKFC. He got fired for a couple minutes there, but he didn't really get fired. But he's certainly with BKFC, and he helped really turn the corner for us in certain ways, and we're all about Mike Perry.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And a name that I haven't brought up to you, it's funny. We used to do these interviews a couple years ago, and I always bring up the name Paige VanZant because when she first signed with you guys, she was kind of like the star for a minute, right? And obviously, again, we love Paige. It's not knocking her, but you guys have grown so far beyond that now to where I'm not knocking Paige. It just feels like a lifetime ago. But she just recently mentioned like fight news. Now I haven't spoken to her. I have no idea. I'm only asking this because she mentioned, do you still have any kind of relation with Paige or have you moved beyond that? Because like it felt like for a while, like she was going to come back. Now she's doing slap fighting. She's doing a lot of other things. It feels like we've moved beyond that, but I'm only asking you because she said recently, I got fight news coming. I don't know if it's boxing, if it's BKFC, I don't know. So what is your relationship with Paige at this stage of the game? Because I know you always said like you were going to give her one more fight, but it feels like a lifetime ago we talked about that.
It does. But she was actually at that fight at Hard Rock last week, and we talked, and I said, what's up? We going to do this or what? She said, I got one more fight on my contract. Let's go. So we are going to do it. I don't know. I know she's talking about some other fight possibly first, so that could be what she's talking about. But absolutely, Paige is in the early 2025 plans without a doubt, and she's game for it. We're game for it. Look, I never forget what people did for us, and although we paid her 10 times what she got paid in the UFC, she moved the needle for us. She was a big time needle mover for us because people are like, "Wow, Paige VanZant's fighting bare knuckle. That's crazy, right?" So I'll never forget that. And certainly she's coming back at least for one more fight, 100% in early 2025.
I love it. It's wild to think because obviously, listen, we always love to talk about the names. We love to talk about Conor because it's Conor, Mike Perry because it's Mike Perry. But you guys had so many cards this last year that had fights that really had nothing to do with those, the names. I mean, your card in Spain produced what I think is the fight of the year with Tony Soto and your new champion. I mean, it was just that was one of the craziest fights I've ever seen. I raved about that one. And Connor coming in after saying we're doubling their pay, which was amazing. So it's fun to see just how you guys are building organic stars from inside the organization and making these people. And again, I'm sure you're going to have some big free agency signings coming up in 2025 as well. But the organic building of what you guys have had, I mean, I think you could say Britain Hart has become a star for you guys. Christine Ferrer, what she did, she responded, man. She did not have the best fight in the world. We talked about that. She responded last week. That girl, man, she busted her up something fierce. So we got a lot of big things. Like I said, organic stars have been a big part of it.
She did. I mean, she had a chip on her shoulder, and she knocked that chip off our shoulder last week. Ty Stewart, right? He's someone that's a breakout star. John Dotson with us, he's doing phenomenal with us. Our heavyweight championship that we have, if Mick Terrell does win, that's another BKFC guy, a bare knuckle guy that turned into a star. But the recipe for success for BKFC is truly turning our guys into stars. That's the only way we really truly make it in the combat sports world. And I think that's really going to happen this year, really more towards the end of this year and the beginning of 2026. That's when our fighters become more mainstream stars because we have all the tools that we need now. We have guys from different organizations that are coming in, character development, helping these guys, media training, doing all the different things that need to be done to turn these guys into stars. And that's what we're going to do this year. And like I said, early into 26. And I think that's when it really, really turns the page because then we don't have to overpay guys. We don't have to pay guys too much. And they learned by becoming fans of these guys throughout watching them through this promotion. And that's what's so fantastic about what we're doing next year.
Well, this $25 million tournament, you're going to have a lot of people saying, hey, I want to try this BKFC thing. But as we always say, Dave, it's a whole different animal. So we'll see who's actually built for it this year. David, it's always a pleasure to catch up. I know you're one of the busiest guys in the sport, so I always appreciate you carving out a little time for me. Obviously, cannot wait. I don't want to disregard January 18th to get a big card to kick off the year, but January 25th, Knucklemania 5, Philadelphia. Absolutely cannot wait for that. It's going to be cinema. I can't wait. Thank you, as always, for the time, and look forward to catching up again here in the near future.
Awesome, Damon. Thanks for having me.